Hey guys, back with another video, and well, I'm actually not gonna be where I usually do my video. Let's just say that. And if you guys remember, a few months back, I did a video on like some Brazil videos of me in Brazil. Well, I am now gonna be in Puerto Rico. I'm probably not gonna be doing any like videos around Puerto Rico, but I will be still trying to do some videos. And since I am in Puerto Rico, I might as well talk to you about the Puerto Rico national team, because there is a Puerto Rican national team. It's not that good, but they do have one. Puerto Rico being part of the U.S. and well, they do have a national team, and they technically could qualify for the World Cup because they are part of FIFA. So you never know what can happen. But let's go over the history, because why not? Since I'm in Puerto Rico, I thought, why not go over the history of the Puerto Rico national team? There's no rise, because there has never been like a real rise of the Puerto Rico national team. But I thought, why not do just a fun video and going over the history of the Puerto Rican national team. So Puerto Rico, it's a former Spanish colony and during like the Spanish-American War got taken by the U.S. and then and now it's currently a U.S. territory. It's not a state; it's a territory, kind of like Guam and U.S. Virgin Islands. It's a territory, not a state. But it's called the Puerto Rico Federation is called the Federación Puertorriqueña de Football, basically the FPF. The team's nickname is actually the Blue Hurricane, but in Spanish, the El Huracán Azul, and they are members of the Caribbean Football Union and part of CONCACAF. The team, though, has never qualified for the World Cup or the CONCACAF Gold Cup because, one, the country's not big. It's only like, it's a small island. It's not that big. And also, two, there's not a lot of soccer players from here. But let's begin at the start. So Puerto Rico's first international game was against Cuba in 1940, which they tied 1-1 in. That was their first game, their first actual game when they became an official national team was in a 3-0 win against Bahamas in 1970. There will be more wins coming. In 1972, they got a 1-0 win against Panama in a friendly, and they would also get wins in the 1980s and 1990s mainly against Panama. Against the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, and Martinique. Those are like the main teams that they would win against, because there's not really many teams that they can really beat in the Caribbean. There's definitely some small ones like St. Lucia, just being an example, Dominica. Like, there's not really a lot of teams that they can beat. And probably being the best Caribbean team is probably going to be Jamaica, probably because they're probably the biggest Caribbean nation. But then we go into 1993 onwards, they would be playing in the Caribbean Cup. And it was actually established by Puerto Rico. It was a 4-game, and they actually got a 4-game win streak without conceding a goal. So very good, but they were not recognized by FIFA. So technically, the Caribbean Cup matches were considered friendlies because they were not part of FIFA. Today they are, but the games was later allowed to switch their allegiance to the United States, but they had they had to play as the United States technically, but they were Puerto Rico. From 1995 to 2007, Puerto Rico did not record a win, so not great. And they did not do good, and especially in the FIFA rankings. Since they did not win one game between 1995 and 2007, they dropped all the way down to 202nd in the FIFA rankings. So not very good. Mainly from 2008 to 2015, they were doing good. They were winning some games in 2008 against Bermuda, and also tied 2-2 against Trinidad. They also won for the first time since 1994 when they beat Dominican Republic in the first round of the World Cup qualifiers. Although they lost in the first leg against Honduras, they fought 2-2, so in second leg. So yeah, that's good. And then they would also be playing in the Caribbean Cup, I think Gold Cup. So good. And they're also going to be able to compete in the 2010 Central American and Caribbean games and at Puerto Rico in some games. So very good. But unfortunately, their stadiums were not really approved by CONCACAF. So they really couldn't really play. They had to play Venezuela actually. But that didn't just show everything. And they will actually be getting to play a very big team in 2012. Puerto Rico actually placed world and European champions Spain in a friendly in 2012, where they only lost 2-1 at Puerto Rico. So very good. In 2015, they also played some other friendlies like Bermuda. They also took part in the 2018 World Cup qualifying, where unfortunately they lost to Grenada in the second round of the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. So okay, and then they also played some other friendlies, even playing NYCFC in 2015. So then we go kind of like 2016-17 period. The team was doing okay. They actually played a friendly against the United States and Puerto Rico, 3-1, lost unfortunately. And then also some other games were playing against Dominican Republic, where they unfortunately lost 2-1. And then they also played against India, where they lost 4-1. And India also played Antigua and Barbuda and Curacao also. So they unfortunately for 2018 they would not be in the World Cup, very obviously. But they were playing against some MLS teams like Orlando City too, and getting at least friendly games. And at least they weren't like doing nothing. So at least they were doing something. But also that they were able to get a player into the MLS. A right back, his last name is Valentin, is actually currently playing for Houston Dynamo and is from Puerto Rico. Also another player is young talent for Orlando City, Valentin Rivera. Something, I forgot his first name, but his last name is Rivera. And the name is Wilfredo Rivera. So they are getting at least some players in, but they're not really getting a lot of players in. Because obviously, I mean, other than San Juan, is there really any other big city in Puerto Rico? But for the Caribbean Cup, they would do some pretty good ones. 1981, being on home soil, they finished 4th. They also competed in 1993. But other than that, they didn't really compete in anything else. They also played in the American Games, the Pan American Games. They in 1979, again on home soil, they made it to round 2. But that was the only other competition they really faced in. But for 2022, they will be competing in the the CONCACAF Nations League. They have been paired up with the British Virgin Islands. The British Virgin Islands, and they will also be playing against Cayman Islands. And recently, they were playing in some World Cup qualifiers in the first round. They beat Guyana, they beat Bahamas 7-0, and also beat Ghana 2-0. They also tied against Trinidad, and also lost against St. Nevis. But other than that, before 2021, obviously they weren't going to be playing much. But that's most of the history of the Puerto Rico national team, because the Puerto Rico national team, I mean, it's not really that big of a thing. I mean, they're competing in the Caribbean Cup. They did a few friendlies against USA, Indonesia, Martinique, maybe even played against a team called Hartford Athletic I had never heard of, USA team, Grenada, Belize, St. Kitts. But they've played a lot of friendlies, but there's nothing really that big. I just wanted to go over, since I'm here in Puerto Rico, I thought let's go over some of the history of the national team. Why not? Because I'm here. I'm probably not going to be doing any videos inside Puerto Rico because it's kind of like my maybe week off. And then I'll start posting again on Friday, I think, back not in Puerto Rico. But I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you next time. See ya.